what can PADV do for them?
Well, I think women who are experiencing domestic violence really need to reach out to a domestic violence agency to get some support and safety plans. Safety planning is so important for women who are thinking of leaving, or for women who aren't, they haven't made that decision yet, but they're still living in that relationship. There's safety planning that needs to take place so that they can stay safe, whether out of the relationship or still in the relationship. So it's really important to reach out to their local domestic violence agency to do that. In Georgia, that local or the statewide number is 1-800-33-HAVEN. And we also...
Let me ask you to repeat that for our listeners.
It's 1-800-33-HAVEN.
Okay.
And we also have a website that has information about safety planning, which is www.padv.org.
Okay, www.padv.org.
And the crisis line that women call, it's completely confidential. It's available 24 hours a day. So some women may not be ready to leave, but they just want to talk to someone, or they want to get referrals, or they need some kind of safe refuge to go to for the night. So I really recommend that she reach out to a domestic violence agency. For family members or friends of someone that they suspect is in an abusive relationship, there are a number of things that they can do. The first is to believe her story, right? There's still a lot of shame associated with this issue, and it's really difficult for her to disclose even to her closest friends. And it's really important when that friend or family member hears what's going on that they don't act incredulous, like, oh, I can't believe it, right? It's really important to believe her story. The second thing is to kind of remind her of the severity of abuse, even if it's just psychological abuse. We had an incident here in Metro Atlanta where the woman who had broken up with her boyfriend had only experienced psychological abuse, but once she broke up with him, he lost that control, and he went down to a public location where she worked and shot her in broad daylight. And her mother was quoted in the paper as saying, this is so surprising to us because he'd never laid a hand on her. He was just psychologically abusive with her. So it's important for family members and friends to remind her of the severity of the abuse, even if it's just psychological or economic. And to let her know that her children are affected. Many women, I think, are, they're trying to struggle with the decision to leave or not to leave. And they're thinking, well, my children aren't affected by it because they're in bed at night when he beats me. But they hear it. They hear it through the walls. They are affected, and it will impact them. And it might increase the chances of a son growing up to batter or their daughter growing up to be a victim. So it's really important that she recognizes that as well.
Right.
And it's important for friends and family, though, to recognize their own boundaries. It's not their role to rescue her, even though they may want to because they love her and they don't want to see her in a dangerous situation. She has to make the decision herself. She has to make the call herself. And so there's only so much we can do. We can offer support. We can offer information. The more we know about this issue, the more information we can pass on to her. So many women are in denial. They don't recognize that they're in a domestic violence relationship. They think, okay, sometimes things just get out of hand. Or me, that would never be me. I'm not a victim of domestic violence.
And I think that's particularly true in some cultural situations as well, because that's the way they're brought up, like you said earlier, and they just don't know the difference.
Or because of different cultural barriers, there's a distrust of police, so they're less likely to call the police. Or there's a fear that if they call the police and they're here illegally, that they'll be deported because their batter is using that as a weapon, holding it against them. That look, I can do whatever I want to you, but you can't call the police because you'll be deported. So there are those barriers as well. But this is an issue that affects women from all walks of life. It happens to women who are highly educated and women who don't even have a high school degree. It's women who speak all kinds of different languages that come from different backgrounds, different religious beliefs, and different cultures.
Right.
The only thing that, as a group, they have in common is their gender, the fact that they're female.
Right. And this is not a male bashing session here. We want people to know that, but the majority of batterers are male.
Yes. Yes.
And we do know that some men do get battered.
Absolutely. There are some men, and there aren't as many resources for men, but the majority of survivors are women. Over 85% with our women. And, you know, if you look at the causes of intimate partner violence, again, it's about power and control. So if you look at society as a whole, who holds the power in our society? More than likely it's
the male.
Right,
Yeah.
right, the male.
Yeah.
So we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
And, you know, with PADV, we welcome the involvement from men. We think this is an issue that both men and women need to be involved together. You know, it's not just an issue that women have to go out there and fight, because this really is something that affects all of us.
Right, right. Well, Susan, I really appreciate you coming in today and giving us this great information. And we encourage you, if you're in this situation, to go on the web, find PADV, or find some local organization near where you live. And thank you for watching us today. This is Diane Bogino, author of Finding Your Bootstraps, and we look forward to seeing you.